David, how are you? Shall I say David or Abdul Rahim?
David is fine, whichever you prefer. David's probably easier, no?
David, no, I don't mind.
Okay.
To be honest, David, Abdul Rahim, they both your
Let's
names.
go with David for now.
Let's go. So tell us your name, actually.
Well, my name is David Steltzer.
Yeah.
Half Austrian, half Singaporean Chinese. And I've been in the UK for about 4 years now, 29 years old.
Wow.
And the story continues, man.
Let's continue. Where were you born first?
I was born in Singapore. My parents met in Singapore, got married there as well. At the age of 2, we moved to Bangkok. Spent a year there, yeah, because of my father's job. He was in the oil industry. And then we went to Norway for 5 years, in Bergen. And I had a very nice time there, went to international school. After that, we moved to Malaysia for 2 years, Kuala Lumpur.
Malaysia.
Yeah, had a nice time there as well.
So many countries, right?
And then Austria, 4 years. And then finally Singapore, where I spent 13 years before moving to the UK.
Singapore.
That's right.
Where did you play football?
I played football in Austria with the under-10s, with my father's hometown. My father was actually a professional footballer at one stage.
Wow.
And he was the head of youth development that time. But he was against me playing.
Why?
He was quite strict, because he was a well-known player, everyone knows him in the town.
Yeah.
And he always felt that maybe I wouldn't be as good.
Yeah, as good as him.
Till this day, I'm not too sure. He never really told me. I just got that feeling.
Yeah.
And whenever I used to play, he used to criticize me.
Oh, of course.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and he never gave me the license to play competitive. So I was just a trainee.
Oh,
That's right. And then my mother said, just give up and focus on what you're good at. At that time, I was actually a good swimmer. Because I love the water till this day. And I went into competitive swimming, actually.
Then now your dad have no authority.
Exactly. But he was very happy about that. You know? Another moment that was very nice for me was that the national under-16 coach came to one of the school games, saw me, gave me his business card and said, join us for training.
Wow. The national team for Singapore.
That's right. And I showed that to my father, and that was the first time he actually smiled. And he said, welcome to the club. And he was with his cigarette, by the balcony. He's a quiet man.
Yeah.
That was my approval in a way, and I felt very happy.
What's the next step?
The next step was modeling. Yeah, another exciting.
Where did you do it?
In Singapore mainly, but we traveled around the region.
And how did that all transform to the David who is now?
Well, I'm still the same David, obviously just a bit older.
We know that.
But as time went by, experiencing all these things, I always felt that in life, the main aim was to pursue happiness. Happiness in something that you enjoy, not making lots of money, things like that, having the best job. I always thought those are the main goals. They're important, yes. But there was always something else I felt that was missing. And then after some time, I just felt maybe look inside. Everything is around you. Have you ever looked
inside? You always look outside.
Exactly, yeah. Take a step back, just breathe and
look inside.
Yeah. That led me to Buddhism, which my mom was sort of encouraging because she was a Buddhist.
Yeah.
I read that, I loved it, but somehow I just felt something was missing. Mainly factual books. I even looked at mathematics, believe me or not, which I don't like. I don't like mathematics.
But you still went for it. You still want to find out.
Yes, because there is a system. There are systems in place in this world, and I always think, who designed the systems? When you look at engineering, look at cars and everything, that someone designed it. But if you look at the human body, who designed that? Because it's a perfect piece of engineering. Time went by, I looked through these different religions, I just felt there was a connection was coming. I felt I was getting closer to something. So I just kept looking, And then somehow, I stopped for a while. I just stopped. Obviously there were some challenges we had with the family that I won't go into detail with. I stopped for a while, and then one of my friend's fathers passed away. And death always has this way of reminding me, how delicate life is. The body's strong, yes, but you can go just like that. You never know when, and there's nothing you can do.
You wouldn't know even the reason.
Exactly. And just that impact on people in general, whether you believe in something or not, it's very powerful. And that was one of the first Muslim funerals I went to. I had been to one before. In school, one of my friends passed away in school, which was a big shock to us. He was a footballer as well. Awesome. Went to that funeral, and I'll never forget that, because the one thing that stayed in my mind was the body that was laying in the living room, covered in a white cloth. That simplicity of just a simple white
You
cloth.
take nothing with you, really.
Exactly. And he was laying there, and just that white cloth somehow just stuck in my mind. And I tried to speak to my father about it, to someone, to my friends, but they were just like, okay, didn't have much to say about it. Went on with their lives. I felt I couldn't, I had to look deeper. And then death kept reminding me, because after that, 2 more of my friends' fathers passed away. I saw the same thing again. At the very last one, the very last funeral, it was a very, very bizarre situation. Because I was on this journey, and a part of me already believed what I was finding, because I was moving more towards Islam. I was talking to my Muslim friends. They were the ones that were most receptive to this sort of conversation.
They were taking you more.
I felt.
Yeah. Welcoming.
Exactly. And a lot of them seemed to know a lot about their religion. Like, I'd speak to some Christian friends. Of course, there are some who are knowledgeable. But on a general level, I felt that almost every one of my Muslim friends had a substantial amount of knowledge about their faith, which impressed me. You know, whether they're practicing or not doesn't matter, but they seem to have a strong connection to it, no matter what. And that impressed me. So I went deeper, I spoke to them, I looked at books. Time went by, I realized with the Quran, I just couldn't find any fault. Because there were scientific facts here and there. And again, I was looking at mathematics and science, and there's so many of these facts
that matches
in the Quran that were revealed at a time when no one had sort of officially discovered these yet.
So when did you actually revert to Islam?
Journeying, I was still, going out. I was modeling still. But that morning, I was hungover. I woke up. My friend called me. He said, "Look, so-and-so's father passed away." And it was a shock for me. It was a close friend. Funerals, obviously, today. With Muslim funerals, they happen quite quickly.
Yeah.
I just put on whatever I could find, went straight there. It wasn't very far from my house, and I stood there. And at that moment, I stood there. And I saw him and his family, tears in their eyes, carrying the body out of the house. That white cloth again came back again to remind me. And this time I felt, look, that could have been you. You've come this far, you've looked at all this knowledge, you believe, but somehow you're trying to fight it.
Yeah.
You know it's right, you know that's the truth, and you know that could have been you before you accepted the truth. And I just felt it's time. So I was thinking, how am I going to do it? How am I going to tell my parents? And I said to myself, I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to tell anyone.
Okay.
So we have this place in Singapore. It's called Ghad Al Arabi Muslim Convert Center.
Okay.
And so I went to that center because you have an actual ceremony, you have an actual office with the registrar, with 2 witnesses, and they actually give you a conversion card.
Wow.
It's very official.
MashaAllah.
So I made the appointment, and he said, "Do you have 2 witnesses?" And I said, "No, I'm just going to come by myself. Don't you have anyone there?" He said, "Okay, just come." So I went there, and I remember the man who did it for me was Ustaz Isa. I still remember him. And I went there. We did the ceremony, and all he said to me was, he asked me at first, "Why do you want to become a Muslim?" Somehow, it was very hard to sum up everything in one sentence, but I think what I did, I can't remember what I said, but what I did say seems to have convinced him, and he said, "Okay." Shook my hand, and he said, "Welcome to Islam." And that was the start of a whole new journey, because I kept it a secret for a year.
So going to, right, you are a Muslim now. The first year,
Yes.
okay, the first time you had to fast, how did you perceive this?
We have to do military service in Singapore, 2 years.
Wow.
That was sort of 2 years away in a sense.
Yeah.
I was placed in with a force that was predominantly Muslim. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, God
Alhamdulillah.
God blessing you. Yeah.
I felt he was taking care of me, and again, the food was all halal. They took care of people's Friday prayers and things like that.
Nothing better than that.
Nothing better. I still didn't feel comfortable telling people. But yeah, those 2 years I had time to actually just get settled in. And then there was one defining moment that happened. I went to Malaysia to visit a friend of mine, spent the weekend there. And we were in this area called Bangsa in Kuala Lumpur. And Bangsa has this very big mosque. And I said to myself, no one knows me in Malaysia. Why don't I go for Friday prayer? And I went, and it was as if a big weight was lifted off my shoulders. And from that day on, I said, okay,
that's it. I'm telling
I'm going to share with the world.
First Ramadan.
Sure.
Tell us.
The very first Ramadan, proper Ramadan that I can remember, I was still serving my national service. I was in the office. I wasn't telling anyone that I was fasting. I was just reading during my break. I didn't go to lunch, and people started realizing this guy's not going to eat. Is he fasting? And he's reading books on Islam. So that's when they started to, and that was sort of the period where I decided to share with people already. Time went by. It was quite smooth. First Ramadan was very smooth.
Very good.
I was very new to the faith, so I didn't know much about Taraweeh, things like that. It was more about abstaining from food and drink for me. And then slowly as time went by, obviously the Eid celebration was the crowning moment back then. But having said that, every Ramadan has been different for me. Every year has been a completely different experience.
Now, what's Ramadan to you and how do you spend it?
Ramadan to me right now, the first thing that comes to mind is like a reboot of the system. Just like when you reboot your laptop or your phone,
The whole thing, yeah.
cleansing, restarting. A lot of people say we should strive to do more, to get closer to God. Yes, I believe that, I agree with that. But for myself, I think a lot of the times it's good to go back to basics, because I'm still quite new to the faith. So come back to basics and polish up the basics, that's what I believe. So purifying myself physically, spiritually, and just taking it and trying to be consistent in whatever I do throughout the day. Take it day by day.
And how do you spend it here?
Well, here right now I've got some time off, so I'm at home. I try to spend a lot of time actually in seclusion, sort of, just trying to get more familiar with the Quran, settling into my prayers at a slower pace, you know, things like that. Doing everything properly, step by step, just taking my time really and enjoying it, you know. It's a long day. It teaches you also to make good use of your time, which is a challenge for me, but I try.
The cuisine. All right, two people fasting, Polish and Asturian and Chinese and I don't know, too many things.
Yes.
What's the table like in iftar?
It's very mixed. This year we've decided to take a completely different turn, but in the past, obviously, I would cook as well sometimes. Chinese influenced, Malay influenced, Singaporean influenced basically. My mother-in-law cooks for us as well. So
Wow.
that's mainly Polish. That's right. She does try to dabble in different cuisines, but it's mainly Polish.
Mainly.
With my wife as well. My wife can't take spicy food. So
I
she
know,
likes,
and Chinese part. So that's what you have for Ramadan?
It's very mixed, but this year we've decided to go on this eating less habit, not filling my stomach too much.
And do you do Taraweeh every day?
I try to as much as I can. Obviously with the long days here, it's a bit more of a struggle. In Singapore, I found it a bit easier because it's a shorter day. Tarawih starts early. You've got a lot more friends around. It's a very strong community there, so that sort of spurs you on. Singapore, I used to do it quite regularly.
So, one last question.
Yes.
Singapore fasting easier or England?
I would say Singapore.
Singapore.
I would
easier.
say Singapore.
So in that case, we have to say Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Kareem to
We'll
you.
see you very soon.
Thank you
Welcome
for
to
your time.
Islam.
Thank you.
And I wish you a blissful life.
Thank you very much. And Salaamu Alaikum.
Alaikum salam.